Hey now.
Good morning, everybody. How are you guys? How's it going?
Good.
Doing all right, yeah.
In this, what it feels like an extra early edition of the Next Issue podcast.
Yes, very much so.
I hate daylight savings time.
We need to drop this an hour earlier.
Yeah, I'll work on that. Or should I drop it an hour later since we rolled back?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought it was spring forward.
Yeah, it's spring forward. We lost an hour.
Wait, it's not 7:56?
Are you in Arizona? Where are you right
You've been here for 2 hours waiting for us?
Yeah.
That gives Kyle no excuse then.
No excuses. No, Kyle's off fighting off kaiju, so if he can make it, he can make it.
Yes, exactly. He's got his mech battle suit on, and he's gathering the team to form Voltron. It's going to be good.
All right. Well, let's hop into our previously on next segment, and we'll just catch up on what we've been doing and reading and stuff for the week.
Yep.
Clay, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. We have been watching the Conjuring series. Are you guys fans?
Never seen it.
I like that. I like that universe.
Yeah. I like the main one. We went and saw, I think it was Annabelle Creation at the drive-in when it came out, and it was so bad we left in the middle of it. But I love Ed and Lorraine, played by
Viga Farmiga
and Dan Patrick.
No, Ocean Master.
I know.
Patrick. Everyone watching this video is yelling his name.
Patrick Stewart. Dan Dryberg.
Ocean Master. It's Ocean Master.
Jesus Christ.
Hard Candy.
As soon as you said Dan Dryberg.
I'm going to type and look.
It's
Patrick Wilson.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
We got there.
Who looks very non-Dan Dryberg-like in real life, so.
Very. Well, they're just great together in this. So it's like whatever they're dealing with and stuff makes it way more interesting. We watched the second one that kind of hinted at the Amityville horror backstory.
Yeah.
Which I had been a fan of since I was a kid. And then, early on you find out, it was all just, they made everything up. It was just a big fake story. And Ed and Lorraine were there making it out to be a bigger deal than it was. And then they were the ones who were tying the murder that had happened in the house before the Lutz family moved in. They kind of focused on that. This is kind of where...
I think you're thinking of the Ryan Reynolds remake. The first one, the original movie did happen.
No, it did not. They have all admitted that it was fake, except for the son, who has come out and made a video talking about there was some weird shit in that house because I grew up in it, and I will tell you about the murdered family that was there before we moved in.
The only one that's still saying that it was all true is the walls because they keep bleeding.
Yeah, the bleeding walls say, "Hey, we're real.
It really happened. It was fucked up."
But I think I'm gonna check out those Nun movies. Those look pretty messed up.
So I hear the Nun. So I haven't watched all of them. I've only watched The Conjuring 1 and 2. And then I've only one of the Annabelle movies is supposed to be good. One's not.
Yeah.
And then The Nun looks too scary, if that makes sense. Like I never liked that one. That in The Conjuring 2, like the fact that the nun imagery was used, I was like, listen, I'm not a devout Catholic or anything, but I was raised Catholic, so there are a few things that are like, nah, maybe I shouldn't. Like, we don't watch The Exorcist at my house.
Let me read you some Bible scary stories.
I've never played with a Ouija board.
I refuse to see The Nun because I have a very hard set no jump scares in the trailer rule. And for some reason that trailer kept popping up in my YouTube and newsfeed all the time, and I'm like, I don't need this many jump scares in my life. God damn it, So
well, James Wan though he does something, and I really recommend just watch any of the James Wan films because he helped. He did Fast and Furious 7, so even his non-horror films, his camera tricks and things he does with his camera are really neat.
Yeah.
And when he introduces the nun in a scene in Conjuring 2, there is this painting and there is a light switch next to it. And he used such tricks to make it kind of fade in and out. So at times it even looks like the eyes are real, but the painting isn't. And then you see from the frame, the hands come out and hold on to the frame.
It's yeah. He's
That's
very good
amazing.
At that.
He will do a jump scare, but he will also put something in the background to make you piss your pants. And you're like, you'll be the only one that sees it, and you're just like,
James Wan is the reason I hate whenever movies just leave a shot that's standing and there's like an empty door or a door that's moving back and forth or something that's switching in and out of frame. Like there's this really cool sequence in the second one where they're trying to channel the old man that lived in the house through the little girl.
Yeah.
So whenever the ghost of the guy, and I won't tell you anymore because it's a little bit of spoiler, but the change in focus on the camera, like it blurs out the background. So your head, you think there's still a little girl sitting on that couch, but you hear this terrifying voice of like this old man.
And they do this trick with the girl because to prove that it's not a fake, the girl has to take a glass of water and she holds the water in her mouth. So that when the ghost talks, you know it's not coming from her mouth. Wow. And so the ghost it's funny because it's kind of like Mystery Man. If everyone turns around, I can get invisible. So the ghost says, turn around and I will make myself appear. And they do a great trick. I mean, that camera trick is so amazing to just have Patrick Wilson turn and a fuzzy child become the man that's talking and go back to the child. And it's just a blur and you can't quite see it make out, but you focus on that. He is a master with the camera tricks. I really love his movies. I
don't like watching those movies at night anymore. Yeah, they're so well. I mean, and James Wan, he gave us Saw, right? Like, so like he's been doing this. He kind of revitalized the horror genre for Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah, I mean, this movie was made like $380 million off a $20 million budget.
Wow.
And it's kind of like the second time that he changes what we see as horror, because when Saw came out, we started doing all that torture porn type of stuff. Mm-hmm. A few years after that. And then now when The Conjuring came out, like it kind of changed everything. Like we started making horror movies that are once again about like all this supernatural shit. Like both things. Humans can be scary just because they do fucked up things to other people. But then also like supernatural stuff that you don't understand can also be scary. It's great.
But definitely anyone who's watching these needs to read deeper about Ed and Lorraine. They're not the Ghostbusters they claim to be. It's kind of cool that they were part of this 70s satanic panic.
Yeah.
But in reality, none of that shit was real. Ed and Lorraine faked a lot of stuff. I hate to kind of poo-poo on the reality of it, but I hope people actually read that what Ed and Lorraine did was not what's in these movies. In fact, in the second movie alone, where it all takes place in London, the one lone wiki entry is that they showed up unannounced, uninvited, and were told to leave.
Someone said, I'll write a script around that.
That's a bingo, because that's exactly what they did. There is a British show about the second one, the second Conjuring, and it took place in England over 2 years. And they had some photos. Yeah, if you get to the end of the Conjuring 2, they show the actors and who they recreated and photos from the time period. Even when they showed the girl who was levitating in the room, they recreated that moment in just a photo. It's all good. It's all quality stuff at the end.
Well, and the other thing about the second Conjuring movie is like, it wasn't just an isolated house in the middle of nowhere like the first movie. It was like in a neighborhood. Like yeah, like the neighbors were aware that something weird was going on, and yeah, it was very good. I really enjoy it. Just don't watch it at night. I can't wait till we can go to our friends' houses and I can watch scary movies over there. So I don't bring any of that demonic stuff here.
The juju home. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
But if anything, go watch a James Wan film since he's done so many different kinds. I mean, you don't have to sit in horror, but man,
I still have to see Aquaman. I haven't seen it yet, so
I think the tricks with Aquaman was what he had to learn on movement in water, and fighting and how all that would work.
It also feels like all his filmography had been leading up to him making Aquaman. Like everything he learned in every genre of every type of movie that he made, like he used because Aquaman has like 5 different genres within the same movie.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I think I wanna ask Clay to maybe on Letterboxd put a list of his favorite James Wan movies together. Like
great idea.
You don't have to do it. You know, I know it's hard because they're all. I think a lot of them are really good. But yeah, if you want to do that for us, we'll share it on Twitter.
All right, I'll knock that one out. And then we have been doing background TV. We'll throw on something in the background we haven't watched in a while, just so that we can read or whatever. Do you guys put on background TV like that?
No,
The
Office is constantly playing at my house, and it's just there as noise. Yeah,
I don't, just because I find it distracting. I put on background podcasts, but not TV, because it'll just, I'm like a moth. I just get drawn to it. So
yeah, HBO Max has all the Reno 911s on.
Oh yes, I love that. Which they're going to bring back, aren't they?
There
was an announcement.
I thought it was on Quibi.
Yes.
No, was it? Oh god.
Yeah, so now
right.
somebody else may grab it if it's already made. I mean, I think people love Reno 911.
Yeah, but have you watched Reno 911 in a while?
Not in a while.
It is on the cusp of. It is fully into a racial comedy that's very negative. It has a lot of. It has a lot of really bad takes in there. That I think it would get canceled quickly if you go back and put it on and go rewatch it. But it's pretty damning that it's not funny. It's more racially and God, I don't want to tell some of the jokes that are on there, but you could still watch them.
Please don't. They'll take the video down. But I think the interesting thing of them doing an updated version of the show is how have they changed the show since then? How have the characters? Because I think for the most part they brought back most of the same characters. So are those people? Did they learn anything while they were away? Like, how's the Reno Police Department being updated to reflect the world of 2020, 2021?
Is Lieutenant Dangle a positive gay figure in the media?
I mean, not played by a gay man, so I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things in there you kind of, I don't know, but it's interesting to watch. I figure it'll be canceled and deleted from media soon. So if y'all want to watch it,
all right. Well, we just finished watching Seinfeld.
Oh yeah,
and like we watched the final episode. I don't know, maybe midweek this week.
Does that include your daughter? Was she watching it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was funny. We skipped some. So, for instance, we skipped the bet episode and watched that without her. And then,
why did you not want to have that talk with her?
That would be a weird father-daughter episode to watch.
Yeah. But what's funny was it comes up in the last episode, and she was just confused. And then we had to pause it. And I turned to my wife and I said, "All right, you've got to explain this to her."
And then she flipped the table. You lied to me. And then just left.
But I had the same thought. There are numerous moments in Seinfeld that would not fly today. And it became kind of a running thing my wife and I would do, which is we would verbally turn to each other and say, "Oh, that wouldn't pass today," right? And we were doing it jokingly, but also to kind of indicate to our daughter that, like, this humor is unacceptable.
It started off as a drinking game, but then they got too drunk on the first few watches.
Right, exactly.
So they turned it into a teaching lesson.
Yeah. That's what teachers do. So anyway, sorry.
Okay. And then one book I read this week was the Nonstop Spider-Man issue 1 by Joe Kelly and Chris Bocciolo.
Yeah.
This actually kind of triggered a question for me, because when I opened it up to the first page, there were some smiley faces, more of like a emoticon than the Watchmen smiley face.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was kind of bold to open up a book with something like that, because it immediately made me think of Watchmen #1.
Okay. And now that you explained that, your question makes more sense. So I don't know if I'll have an answer when we get there, but
yeah. Again, I love the art. I love the writer. It's Peter Parker. It's a fast-paced story with, unbelievable art. I can't recommend it more. And it's only the first issue, so we only get a taste. But Joe Kelly and Chris Bocciolo have worked together for like over 20 years, so I expect a great book.
that's awesome. Yeah, I picked that up. I haven't read it just because I haven't had much time to read comics, but I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Josh, what about you? What you been up to?
Yeah, let's see. So for the comic book club this month, I read Ragnarok, Last God Standing by Walt Simonson, which, as I said at that meeting, I had not realized how much of a Walt Simonson shaped hole there was in my life, and I was so glad to fill it. Such a good book. I love his art. I like his writing. Again, I'm just reiterating what I said at the meeting, but he does a masterful job of making a book that feels like you're reading a late 1980s comic, but with a very much updated sensibility. Almost the opposite of, say, Reno 911. So that was great. And then, not to be confused with the Dallas Comic Book Club, I've been invited to a Comic Scholars reading group. And in that, we read a selection of Garo, kind of alt manga stories. And those are great. There were some fascinating things in there. I don't have enough time to go into all of them, but everything from kind of classics like the story Hell by, I have it over here. By Yoshihiro Tatsumi, which is just if you've never read it, go track this story down. It is this amazing story that sets up what you think is one story and then turns into another story. So, for instance, it is about a photographer who becomes famous because after Hiroshima is bombed, he is there documenting it, reporting on it, and he comes across a fragment of a wall from a home, and there is the shadow of the people who died in the blast etched into the wall, and it looks like an older mother kind of kneeling down and her son behind her kind of holding her. And he takes a photo of it, and it becomes this, famous photo of a son helping a mother, and then they turn it into a statue, and he gets all this acclaim for it. And part of that acclaim is he becomes this sort of ambassador of like anti-nuclear bombing things. Well, during the course of it, a mysterious man comes to him and says, "I'm the person everyone thinks is the son in that photo." And then it just goes off the rails. I don't want to spoil anything else.
Whoa.
But and again, this whole story is at most maybe 15 pages. It's incredible. It's a really, really good story.
Wow. I was not expecting you to finish with that in the description of that story.
I will tell you guys offline what happens if you want to know, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone in the show. So,
okay, I definitely want to put a link to that if you have it. So I can put a link on the video because that sounds rad.
It's in a collection by Tatsumi called Goodbye. Here, I'll find it and post a link. And this is the cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
What is a comic scholar reading group like? Do y'all have monocles?
No, but I'm going to suggest that now. No, it's cool. I feel honored to have been invited. It was mostly put together by library scholars. So those that work in academic libraries, librarians have been for decades now huge proponents for comics because they see that as a way of, particularly like in younger schools, of getting kids into reading. But these are all themselves just scholars of comics who work in kind of the library world. And then there are other scholars there that teach English and teach media studies. And I'm the lone art historian, I believe, that they've invited to the group. Which is not their fault because we are an oddity in comic scholarship. So
I got a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
Is Joe from our comic book group part of that? And if he's not, do you rub it in his face that he's not?
So Joe is not, and I think it's only because I don't think Joe's actual scholarship deals with comics.
Okay. You're right.
So but I will rub it in his face now. So
and some of us get the glorious quarantine haircut head or whatever.
God damn that guy.
Yeah, just. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna grow this awesome mane for quarantine.
Yes, exactly.
But shout out to Joe. He's one of the good things to come out of this quarantine is that he gets to join us for comic book club again.
Yeah.
Even though he's moved away. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had that with a few people, which is nice.
Yep.
So let's see. So those are the two comic things I've read, kind of non-comic stuff. This is probably a comment only for an audience of me, but there is a very famous series of French pulp novels called featuring the main villain named Fantômas, and they were the first 5 books were translated into English when they were published because they were just so popular, but I think almost 25 books were published in this series. And so Blackcoat Press, which specializes in French pulp translations, a few years ago put out the last 2 books. And so I'm wrapping up the second before the end of the last 2 books. And they're fun, pulpy stuff. I love them.
How much longer after that does he join the X-Men?
It's going to be 50 years.
Okay.
And then now, and I believe there are fascinating variations of this character. So I believe in Mexico there is a Fantômas that is loosely based on this character, but not the same character.
I've definitely heard the name growing up, so I know I know that I don't know if there's a difference or not, but I've definitely heard that Fantômas as a character in literature.
And no relation to the Billy Zane movie.
Oh, Fantasma.
Although that is, I believe, the French translation of that movie. People were very confused. They're like, "Oh, he's not a bad guy; he's a good guy. What's wrong with this?"
You mean El Fantasma?
Yeah, oh, good point. And then finally, my daughter has been super into reading all of the Douglas Adams books, and so we sat down and rewatched, or for the first time for her, the 2006 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie. I don't know why that movie didn't succeed more than it did. It is rock solid.
It is great.
The casting is good. Mos Def as Ford Prefect, something I had never picked up on prior viewings, is that he just doubles down on the whole towel thing. He has his towel out nearly the entire film, and he uses it for everything. There's no better Zaphod than Sam Rockwell. I mean, it is absolute pitch perfect casting. It's funny. I know there was backlash about the bits that were new. But apparently all those bits were put in the script by Adams himself before he died. So I mean, it's, if you've never seen it, even if you've read the book a billion times, go watch the movie. It's just.
And I imagine there are people who have just seen the movie. Please go read the books.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
You're going to get so much more out of it than the film, even though Sam Rockwell, he's pretty awesome.
Oh God. And I'll even throw out there as well, like, go read the books. And then when you're done with the books, if you've done the movie, you've done the books, go watch the original BBC TV series.
Yes.
It's really hard to watch that before the movie, but I just want to say one thing. When you go watch it, keep in mind that all of the animated bits that are the Hitchhiker's Guide book were hand animated. It looks like computer animation. It is not. So just keep that in mind. It's brilliant. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
Excellent.
Well, let me wrap it up here with the only thing I did was read comics. I did watch a movie though. So I picked up a bunch of stuff this week. So these are all actually number ones from this week. First, I picked up Carmen from Image Comics by Guillaume March. This book is weird. It's about maybe Carmen, which is maybe death. I don't know. It's weird, but Guillaume's art like he's writing and drawing. It's wild, and I don't know. I'm gonna keep reading this book because I read it and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" But in an interesting way. So next up, I read God of War #1 from Dark Horse by Chris Robertson and Tony Parker. So this book takes place between God of War 3 and the 2018 God of War with the Norse mythology stuff. I'm a big fan of the God of War franchise, even though I'm not much of a gamer. I've played every God of War game except for the newest one, including the PSP one.
Oh wow!
So like I really like God of War. I really like Kratos and his evolving story. So I wanted to check out the comic. This felt like it should have been called God of War 0 because I feel like not a lot happened. It feels like this is for anyone that has never played God of War, and now they're trying to give you a catch up of like, hey, this is who Kratos is, and this is kind of what's going on, and then we'll actually kick off our story in the next one. Which I guess it's fine for a #1, but as I feel like Dark Horse has enough licenses that they should know how to put this stuff out maybe better. I don't know. Maybe that's why Marvel keeps taking their licenses away.
I thought it was IDW.
No. I mean, they're on the same track. But the next one is The Joker #1 by James Tynion and Sam Jones, also with art by Guillaume March. Oh. So that was two books for him this week. This takes place after the events of the Infinite Frontier, which for a Joker book, there's a lot of Commissioner Gordon in the story. If anything, it feels like a Commissioner Gordon book.
Oh.
I mean, they have a complicated history with everything that happened from the Killing Joke forward, really. So it deals with that. It deals with Commissioner Gordon and how he on a day-to-day basis kind of deals with the Joker and kind of how he haunts him. And now he's been kind of hired to find them and do something. So because the Joker had to go away after he stole Bruce's fortune and then lost it again. But it's a good jumping on place. James Tynion, he does excellent stuff. Also, if you were enjoying the Punchline story that was going on in the Batman books prior to the break for Future State, this has a backup for that, and I think the backup will continue. So this will be a Joker book that also has backups for the Punchline story. I know whenever they announced the character, we were just like, oh, this is just going to be a Harley Quinn replacement. And I'm very glad to see that Punchline is so much more than just another girlfriend for the Joker.
Good.
Because of the circumstance now, she's a very independent character right now too. So I'm really enjoying that. The last thing I read, and this was my pick and recommendation last week, is Children of the Atom #1 by Vita Ayala and Bernard Chang. This is a new X book that came out. I knew there was going to be something to this book. There's going to be a twist because this is a group about teenagers that actually live in New York. They're not living enough in Krakoa, so maybe Kyle might like this. But they have powers and they do stuff because they idolize the X-Men, but there's a reason they haven't moved to Krakoa. And as you read the book, you find out why, and it's kind of heartbreaking why they don't go to Krakoa. So I'm really invested. The characters are immediately very lovable, but there's also this, like, it feels kind of like a little bit of CW stuff in between because it is an X-Men teenage book, right? These are all teenagers, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna keep reading it. Vito Yao is writing, as always. Like I picked up all their books in the past couple of years because they're so good. And then the last thing, and you might be listening to this by the time this is not on HBO anymore, so I apologize, but Judas and the Black Messiah was such a good movie.
Oh, I need to see that.
Yeah, so if you do have HBO Max, if you both of you have HBO Max, you should watch it this weekend before it goes away.
Okay.
It is a story about Fred Hampton and the Black Panther movement and how the FBI kind of interfere with that.
They're saying that this might be another knock against oh my God, the FBI.
Oh, Hoover,
that they may remove his name from some buildings.
Wow.
Yep. Listen.
With the Leo film, do not paint him very kindly.
Yep, for sure. This also has a little bit, because this was also going on at the same time as the events from the trial of Chicago 7. There's some mention to some of the people because these are all historical based movies. So it's really good. Like it's interesting, especially because of the time that we, like, everything that's going on right now and that happened last year and has been happening for the past few years. Like this really tells you that, like, you should really do your own research, because I don't know, before growing up, I would hear the Black Panthers and I was like, oh, that feels like, like they were a bad group of people, like they were just doing bad stuff. But that's not what it is about. Like, you really need to understand what the movement was about, and that they were not the only movement like that going on at the time. There were so many other movements that are very similar that they kind of bring that up in the movie.
Yeah, the media always painted the Black Panthers as like a militant group and angry, and it's like they're just trying to have their rights like everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things I didn't know, they started a breakfast program for kids and like wherever their chapters were. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more there. So do your own research, and like I said, watch this movie. Daniel Kaluuya is so good. But I think the one that stole the show was Lakeith Stanfield.
Oh, he's always great.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, so I'm glad I watched it before it went away.
Imagine those two just keep doing movies the rest of their lives, just trying to outdo each other because they're so good.
Yeah, I'm in for that. I think we all win.
We all win. Yeah,
we all win. Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I've had. I was gonna leave the movie for the recommendation, but because when this goes out, the movie may not be on HBO anymore. I will recommend you buy it or rent it whenever it goes to VOD. So that's about it. So let's take a break here.
All right.
We'll come back to talk a little bit about our main topic, which is the real world and Gen X and a lot of the implications there. We'll also talk some news later on, and
I'll tell you about the old comics.
Tell me about the old TV shows, Clay.
I just want a screen capture of Daniel's face as he says the real world and Gen X, because he just looks so confused. So utterly confused.
Well, whenever I put this video up, subscribe to our channel, and then you can pause it right there. I'll put a time code in for you, Josh. All right, we'll be right back.
Maybe take a